And I nearly always open the show that I do with Mrs. Gamp, who Michael referred to. Mrs. Gamp was a midwife, and in those days, midwives had two jobs at least. They didn't just deliver babies, they also laid out corpses. So when the knock came at the door, they didn't know which duty they were going to be called upon to fulfill. And as Dickens wonderfully describes, Mrs. Gamp had a face for all occasions. And he knew and intended to make a mark with her. He knew he was going to. The book that Mrs. Gamp appears in is Martin Chuzzlewit. So I want you to imagine Mrs. Gamp is up in her room and she hears a knock at the door. "I'm coming! Is it Mrs. Perkins?" "What, Mr. Wilkes?" "Oh, don't say it's you, Mr. Wilkes." "And that poor Mrs. Wilkes, with not even a pincushion ready. Don't say it's you, Mr. Wilkes." So, the gentleman's dead, then, Oh, Lord's the pity. But it's what we all must come to. It's as certain as being born, except that we can't make our calculations as exact. Oh dear, poor dear. When Gamp was summoned to his long home, and I seen him lying in the hospital with a penny piece on each arm and his wooden leg under his left arm. I thought I should have fainted away, but I bore up. If it weren't for the nerve a little sip of liquor gives me, I could never go through with what I sometimes has to do. And I said to my friend Mrs. Harris, that the very last case of ever I acted in, which he was but a young person. Mrs. Harris, I said, leave the bottle on the chimney, and don't ask me to take none, but let me put my lips to it when I'm so discovered, and I will do everything I've been engaged to do according to the best of my ability. Mrs. Gamp, she says in answer, if ever there was a sober creature to be had for 18 pence a day for working people, 3 and 6 for gentlefolk, night watching being extra charge, you are that invaluable person. Mrs. Harris, I said, don't name the charge, I beg, for if I could afford to lay out all my fellow creatures for nothing, I would gladly do so. Such is the love